What is going on, guys? Gainz Gaming here, and today we are talking about engineering siege commanders, and specifically for people that want to start using siege early in the game. Now, the one thing you need to keep in mind is that a lot of commanders are only available in season 3 or later. So for early game players, some of these commanders are not going to be available. And when we take a look at all of the different legendary commanders that we have in engineering as of right now, in June of 2025, every single legendary commander that is siege-oriented engineering is only available in Season of Conquest or later, which is now Season 3. However, the two epic commanders are going to be available to you in Season 2. So if you are in the early game in KVK 1 or in the preparation stage, you are not going to be even able to see these commanders. However, one thing you can do is save your gold keys. Now, I have been outspoken about KVK 1 and how you really don't want to be, opening up all your gold keys and investing into these commanders that you're not going to be using anymore. So if you wanted to use ranged combat in KVK 2 and use the epic commanders, which you absolutely can, they can still do very well, I would save your gold keys and open them once you enter KVK 2. And the reason why is because you are not going to unlock them in your gold chest until you reach KVK 2. And the only two that are going to be available to you are Catherine and Narcissus. So if you want to use them in KVK 2 and you don't want to use them at like 5111 or have to use all of your universals in them, you absolutely can start saving all of your gold keys and then start investing into them. Because, obviously you are going to have some of these heads available, but you're not going to have a ton. And for me, I have a crap ton, but not everybody has, the same level when you enter KVK 2 because you're still earlier in the game. And maybe you're still using some of these commanders in some capacity. So you're not going to have the excessive amount of universals to put into these commanders. And, you're just not going to have that ability. So saving up your gold keys can be huge entering KVK 2. Now, if we are talking about then going into Season of Conquest of Season 3, what should your first step be? Now, in my opinion, I think Gaja and Gonzalo are the two best options as of right now with commanders that we have available. The best option is going to be Gonzalo. Number one, you can pair him with just about everybody, and the reason why is because he is the best siege commander. And the reason why for that is because he does AoE damage. Not all of them do AoE damage, pretty much all of them do single target damage except for Gonzalo, plus he does it in a circle. So you're going to deal ranged smite damage to up to 3 enemy units centered around a target troop. So if you are targeting somebody on the map, let me just zoom out here. If I'm targeting this one right here, if I'm targeting the belly and I'm hitting this, it is going to make a circle around Belisarius and hit 2 of his other marchers that are standing right here. It does not do 5 target AoE, but only 3 target. And obviously with every target, it will decrease your damage by 15%. But this is absolutely huge because this is where you get the best trades is from the AoE that Gonzalo brings. If I show you some reports that I have available in my favorites, I think I should still have a couple here. So you can see this is just absolutely insane how much value you can get. And if I take a look at just one of these reports, so if we take a look at the very beginning of this entire trade, so this trade is 5.1 mil to 1.7 mil. We take a look at this first one, you can see all the targets that I hit. So the first target is 12k to 160k. And you can see the AoE value that you're getting, 0 to 10k, 30k to 162k, 0 to 10k, 0 to 5k. You can see how the AoE builds so much value for you in these big murder balls because you're doing so much damage to them and you're so far away. So having the ability to use AoE damage is just a huge, huge benefit when you get into Season of Conquest and you're using engineering combat, because you're just doing so much damage to people that cannot even target you because you're away from them. You're out of the murder ball and you're just doing damage into the murder ball, doing AoE damage. So Gonzalo is an absolute must use if you're using engineering. You can honestly use him with non-engineering commanders. And I've done this before as well. Let's take a look here. I used Ragnar Prime with Gonzalo because Ragnar did more range and I was using my infantry gear. You can see I'm still getting some pretty decent trades. Not phenomenal, but still pretty decent trades. You can see here's Charles Martel with Gonzalo, still very decent trades. Here is Catherine with Gonzalo. Even an epic commander with Gonzalo trades really, really well. Here I tried Gonzalo primary with Julius Caesar for some extra troop capacity, but like you can see how well these do. Here's another one. We have Catherine with Gonzalo. Just absolutely crazy reports from commanders that, you know, shouldn't be doing that well. And keep in mind, this is without Gonzalo expertise. Look at this. This is 3,111, and this report was 1.2 mil, almost 1.3 mil to 1 mil. So just absolutely crazy. Let's see what these ones were if I had him expertise at this point. I'm not sure if I did. So this is actually where I expertise him. So you can see the benefit that you get from the expertise. It is definitely worth expertising him for the full value. But if you are going to use ranged combat, Gonzalo is an absolute must-use commander because he is just so good with the AoE. So when you get to Season of Conquest, if you are going to use ranged, Gonzalo is your #1 priority. You could run him at 5511. However, I do think he is worth maxing out. I think his expertise is good enough to use, and I think he's worth it. But I have also made videos about what your priority should be in Season of Conquest, and unless you are trying to go really hard into ranged combat, I still would recommend using field marches. And what I recommend is your siege being your 3rd or 4th march. So you want to make sure you are investing into your other marches and building out other marches before you start going fully into siege, unless you're running a siege main account, which you absolutely can. Mr. Siege does it. He does phenomenal with it. I am doing it on one of my alt accounts, or really my only alt account, but I'm doing it on my Gainz Pew Pew, and it's been doing pretty good. Let me actually open this up. I might have some reports to take a look at here because we are actually in KVK. I do want to cover this more on my channel on this alt account, but let me just show you a couple of these reports that I have. I do have 4 different troops or 4 different marches in terms of gear, but I have really just been utilizing 2 for the most part. Just got to wait for the mail to load here. We are not doing phenomenal in this zone right now, but let's take a look at some of these. So here's 726%, 700K to 100K. I've been using my Margaret and Burr, and that's been doing pretty good. These are my 2 best ones in terms of gear, but I mean, or here's a really nice garrison report, but like still doing really, really well. You can see here's Catherine and Narcissus not doing as well. When I get swarmed down, it just doesn't trade well. And when I get swarmed down with my Gaja and Cordobo or Gonzalo, it doesn't do horrible. Like here's Gaja getting swarmed down. Obviously 50% isn't phenomenal. It's just not really in battle too long. But if I do get ignored, it is going to do really, really well. Here's another example with Gaja. You know, not amazing trades all the time, but keep in mind, this is a free-to-play account, absolutely no technology. We are in the new KVK format with new tech, so this is what I have for technology. I have 5.5. I really went heavy into Call to Arms as much as I could into there, but I don't have any of the other stuff. I don't have extra attack. I don't have extra defense. I don't have the health. So I really don't have much tech whatsoever into this account. So, you know, everything with a grain of salt because this is a free-to-play account. I have the tech as far, my own tech, as far as I can get it before having T5. I have everything maxed out except for the T5. I'm not planning on investing into that because it's just power that I'm not going to use, and I'm going to continue using T4. So, you know, if you are planning on using Siege, I think it is a good idea in 2025. I think they're going to continue to invest into Siege, so I think it is a good plan if you're wanting to get into that on the ground floor. You don't need to do a ton, but if you want to trade really well, you should have a pretty decent base for your gear. This was like the bare minimum I would recommend running, but eventually you want to try to get to something like this. This is pretty decent. This is my second set, obviously not as good, but you know, work in progress. We're trying to get there. Like I said, I have been running 4 marches, but it's not the best case scenario. And from what I've been finding, using my Catherine and my Narcissus march, and then using my John and Steven, I believe. I always forget the guy's name. Let me try to find him quick. Yes, Steven. So I have him at 5111, and then John, I have 5511. But you know, as we start to get more engineering commanders, we'll probably get some more marches available to that, or different variations of that. But I have considered investing these gold heads into both John and Steven. However, I think that we are going to see engineering marches coming out in probably the next year. And I feel like we're going to see a good one, potentially even one with combo attack damage. That'd be pretty insane. So I am going to be saving my gold ads for that. These are usable, not great, but usable. And as of right now, I've really been rocking with 2 marches just because running 4, like, yeah, it's good, but best case scenario, I might trade like 120% with Catherine and with my John just based on where they're at. If I had really good gear on my Catherine and not this base gear, if I had this gear on there, it'd probably do pretty well, like 150, maybe 180% if it trades well. But just with how the layout has been going in this KVK, we have been getting pushed back pretty hard. So there's not really any consistent like murder ball, just because our field gets wiped or they get pushed back, and then I'm suddenly the front line, and then I get wiped out. So, you know, it's a work in progress. There's different kingdoms that have some different viability. In 1846, it's a lot easier to use range combat than in these lower seed KVKs, just because of the field presence, and we don't get pushed back as easily. So there's going to be a lot more time available for my range to do work. So it's going to depend on your kingdom, but if you are wanting to invest more into siege, this is what my recommendation would be: is, you know, really focus on the best commander, focus on your Gonzalo, save up your gold keys if you are in the early game and you want to start using Catherine and Narcissus. You can definitely go all into them if you're looking to go that route. Just know that it's not going to be as good as your actual field marches in most circumstances, especially if you're in a lower seed KVK, because your field is not going to be able to support you and you're going to get wiped out and probably not trade phenomenally. So I wouldn't recommend using Catherine and Narcissus long term, just because they're not going to be a great scenario, especially in Season of Conquest. But Gonzalo is 1000% the top priority that you should look into. And then Gaja is going to be the best case scenario pairing with that Gonzalo. So if you have any other questions or want me to make any other videos about ranged, comment down below what you want to see, and I'll for sure make a video on it. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.